Welcome to the Connect Your Health to Life coaching podcast. I'm your host, Seth Lusk. I'm a master certified life coach and published author with a decade-long background working in the health, wellness, and fitness industry as a personal trainer, nutrition specialist, and life coach. If you're anything like me or the clients that I work with, then you might be struggling with some confidence issues or struggling with feeling like you're not living your most fulfilling or authentic life. You may be trying to figure out why you have these amazing desires for what your most fulfilling life would look like, but you can't seem to create consistent action in your life to reflect those desires. So join me as we dive in deep on what it means to truly live a fulfilled and authentic life from the inside out. We're going to look from the perspective of an empowered mindset and uncover some of the reasons why you might be what's holding yourself back from living that most fulfilling life. But don't worry, this isn't about blame, guilt, or shame. This is about empowering you to see. I'm going to break through some of the biggest illusions and myths that we've all been taught to believe along the way. And I'm so excited to have you with me on this journey. So my only question for you is, are you ready to start living your most fulfilling life once and for all? Then let's get started, shall we? Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. For those of you listening in for the first time, welcome. You picked a very interesting topic to join in on with this week. I say it every week, and I mean it every week. This week, I'm going to say it's also quite a powerful topic for us to be talking about, particularly at this point in time in human history, in the history of most of the people alive today. We're talking about uncertainty this week. And I think this is so important for us to talk about. And I wanted to hop on here and offer this week, actually, all over my social media, as well as this podcast episode, to open up the conversation around uncertainty. We live in a time right now where I feel like so many people are feeling so uncertain about many different things in their life that they've never either experienced uncertainty surrounding those areas of their life, or they're experiencing levels of uncertainty in those areas of their life that they're just not used to. We're seeing a lot of suffering, a lot of reactivity, a lot of pain being thrown out into the world as a result of this. And so I wanted to hop on here today and have this conversation with you all to begin to, first of all, create some more clarity around the concept of uncertainty, because I talk about this indirectly so often on my social media and in other podcast episodes. I talk about this indirectly and the importance of uncertainty and us leaning into it. But I've never actually talked directly about certainty, uncertainty, and how this sort of concept exists, how it is that we struggle with it, why it is that we're feeling so much pain and suffering surrounding certainty versus uncertainty. And I want to address this today. When we talk about uncertainty, there's truly so much that we could dive into. I mean, this topic is so wide. It's, as I've said before already today, that in almost all of my podcast episodes, I indirectly address uncertainty and talk about the importance of it, and that our fear of it creates a lot of problems for us in life. And I talk with my clients quite often as well. We address obstacles and struggles that they're facing surrounding uncertainty. It is truly an expansive topic. And right now we live in a time where we have been quite privileged over the last 50, 60, 70 years to have faced very little uncertainty on a global, social, economic scale of things. Economies have been growing. Nations were becoming closer and closer together, finding solutions of how to work with each other. War was a very scarce thing over the last 50, 60, 70 years. We had little wars here and there, but nothing huge, nothing on a scale that threatened global peace. None of the superpower nations of this world were involved in these wars, other than maybe to show support. We were finding cures for so many diseases. And I would say overall, as a whole of humanity, We got into this groove over the last 50 to 70 years of creating this illusion of more and more certainty for ourselves. And I am calling it an illusion, and we're going to talk about more today why I'm calling this an illusion. We started to believe that we could make life certain over the last 50 to 70 years. And over the last, I'd say, 5 years, life has given us all this massive sort of, I'm going to call it just a backhand, this reminder that life is not actually designed to be certain, and that nothing in this life, in this physical life, is designed to be permanent or certain. But we have this desire for certainty to account for. And I think it is so important that we address this for so many reasons. And this is why I want to do this podcast episode for you all today. I tell you all over and over and over again that nothing in this life is designed to be certain. Life is about uncertainty. Being willing and accepting to move into uncertainty. Being able to show up in your life empowered and co-creating with the universe. This is what life is about. It's about choosing the uncertainty. But for so many of us, we've lived our lives in resistance to it. And we haven't really been forced to come face to face or to terms with the fact that we've been doing this for so long until about the last 5 years. We as humans are very active creatures in assessing and mitigating risk as we move into this life with all of its uncertainty. But I also see so many people out there that are feeling disempowered and stuck in their own lives due to their relationship with uncertainty. And what I mean by that is that their relationship with uncertainty is a very toxic one. And I want to talk about uncertainty today from a slightly different perspective here. I want to talk about the human desire for certainty. Why is it that this is something that so many of us battle with, even if we don't recognize consciously that we're doing so? And I also want to say that I know many religious groups out there look at the desire for certainty as being a sign of corruption or brokenness in us as humans. So many spiritual practices, religious practices talk about this desire for certainty and put it out there as if there's something corrupt or broken about us. And this is also why I want to talk about this today, is because I don't believe that. I don't think that our desire for certainty is a sign of corruption or brokenness in humans. I think it is definitely a sign of our humanity and a sign pointing toward one of the things that we are all in this life to learn about ourselves. But I do not believe that we as humans are fundamentally flawed or broken because of our desire for certainty. And I want to talk about that today, because I feel like the life coaching community, the self-help, self-development community, a lot of times the way they talk about this uncertainty, it almost sounds like when you feel uncertain and you have a desire for certainty that there's something wrong with you that you need to fix and get rid of. And I don't think that's the case. I think we need to truly look at this here and where our suffering and our pain comes from when it comes to our desire for certainty. Why do we have that? I think it's so important for us to look at this. I think that learning to go through this life and learn through this desire, not in resistance to it, not in reaction to it, or in indulgence of it, I think this is one of the biggest spiritual lessons that every human on this planet is here to face. And this, to me, is what is so important when it comes to my desire to talk about this with you all today. So many of us right now are feeling this pain and even suffering due to the intensity of the feeling of uncertainty that we're all feeling right now. And the internal messaging that we're telling ourselves about it, or the things that we're telling ourselves about how it should be or shouldn't be right now, and how we can't wait for this uncertainty to go away. And this is creating so much suffering in the world right now. As I said before, in the 70s, the 1980s, the 1990s, the early 2000s, even the early 2010s. It has been a huge time of humanity pressing forward and creating more and more external solutions to this desire for certainty. Treaties between countries, treatment of diseases, ways to detect and prevent loss from natural disasters, more efficient ways to produce and distribute food, more options for comfort, entertainment, more inventions coming out by the second, innovations coming out by the second. And then it's like 5 years ago, we just all of a sudden, it feels like we got blindsided with so many things. And then in the last 2 to 3 years, this pandemic that most people alive today, this is something that we have never lived through before. And then shortly after, we're faced with one of the first wars fought on European soil in over 70 years. And the biggest superpowers of the world are getting involved in what do we do about this? Economies are moving into more fear-based and protective actions and trends. And the people of this world are beginning to see through these illusions of certainty that we've been leaning on for most of our lives. And for actually most of us alive today, it's been all of our lives. We're sitting and watching the television, watching social media, watching life around us as this illusion shatters and crumbles. And so many people out there had built their lives on this idea that this illusion was real and that their life was dependent on the certainty of it. And then we have this fear sweeping in, and so many people have frozen and curled up in on their lives in fear and resistance to the uncertainty that we are forced to face ourselves with now. There's no running from it at this point in time. Now, granted, there are people that are trying, but most of us see now it's almost impossible to look away from the fact that uncertainty is staring us all in the face and saying, guess what, guys? I've been here all along. You haven't been looking, but you can't look away now. So many people have slipped into this external examination of the world and circumstances around them of who is to blame for this immersive sense of uncertainty that we're experiencing right now in this life. And for most of us, for the first time ever in our lives. And for most of us, this is the first time that a lot of us couldn't just buffer it away with entertainment or comfort. But here's the ironic part, my friends. We've all been living with the same amount of uncertainty our whole lives. That's what's so interesting right now. And this is why I want to talk about this and I want to lean into this conversation today. We've been living with the amount of uncertainty we feel like we're facing right now our entire lives. We've just been socially programmed. We've socially programmed each other and ourselves to buffer it away constantly with comfort. So for the first time ever, people now are being forced to confront uncertainty. And due to our social programming of emotional reactivity and a lack of emotional responsibility, we see the result of it now. We see violence everywhere, anger, fear, blaming, all exploding in life around us, all around the world. So many people resisting being present with the uncertainty to lean in and learn what is here to show us. And that it's here to show us that it's been here the entire time. We've just been resisting experiencing it. Even though actually we've been experiencing it in the background, we just have been distracting ourselves from it. So many people now, though, they've doubled down on their efforts to resist the uncertainty during the pandemic. Alcohol sales skyrocketed through the roof around the globe. Drug use, violence, sadly suicides also. And people who have been taught their whole lives to resist and numb away uncertainty are now faced with the reality of life. And were not aware of their internal tools that were available to them to be able to move into that uncertainty as it presented itself. And even move through it with openness, peace, strength, and gratitude. And yes, I mean gratitude. Gratitude for the uncertainty. You see, uncertainty is another emotion. And emotions, as I've said before, they're spotlights on lessons that our higher selves want us to see and grow from. Uncertainty is one with a deeply profound and valuable lesson for us all. One that we have all been so enabled and willing to resist for most of our lives. And for most of us alive today, our whole lives. And that's the lesson to remember who we are. And to unattach from this ego and its conditional identity with the temporary forms and things and concepts and human constructs and possessions of this life that are designed to be temporary and uncertain. We are beings of a much higher purpose, simply here to visit and journey through the experience of this life, to grow and learn, but not to identify and attach. And so many of us are missing this valuable lesson in our attempts to resist and wish away and numb away these times that are here to remind us of that lesson, of that uncertainty. And that there is certainty in something else, but we've been looking for it in a totally different place for our entire lives. Our whole lives, before these past few years, we have been disempowering ourselves and strengthening our identification with the ego and conditional worth and our quest to seek certainty in this life, and avoid uncertainty. We've been doing this dance of looking for ways to seek certainty in the world around us through money, through jobs, through houses, cars, possessions, friends, relationships, external validation, looking for validation of our gifts and talents, getting degrees. And what I want to say is, it's not that jobs, cars, degrees, relationships, money, all of that, it's not that I'm saying this stuff is bad. But we have used these as our way to try and avoid the lesson of uncertainty in this life. We've been using them as a way to buffer away uncertainty and attach ourselves to them. We've been using them to avoid the lesson that this life is actually here to show us, that this life is supposed to be uncertain. Uncertain is not a feeling we want to avoid and get rid of. But in our quest to do so, what we've done is we've created a very fear-based, externally validated, and ego-identified world, full of humans that have forgotten who they are, forgotten what they are. We have become so emotionally irresponsible and reactive as a species. And personally, I love that these past few years have shown up at this time, because it has finally brought all of this so close to the surface for us to all see. And we've been given the opportunity to look at it and lean into it and grow so profoundly through it. And granted, I know so many of us out there are just resisting it, but I myself, I'm still happy to see that we are being given this opportunity at this time to see what this quest of certainty and our journey into the ego and identifying with it has created for us. And I want to be clear here. I'm not saying that I like the pandemic, that I like that this war is going on in Ukraine. I'm not saying that I like that lives were lost. What I'm saying is, I, for one, am choosing to see this time as a massive opportunity. A massive opportunity for us to see what it is that we have been creating in the world around us, which is suffering. And how it's an opportunity for us to see how and why we've been doing it and to do differently moving forward. But we won't do that if we don't lean in and look at this whole desire to remove uncertainty and to hide from uncertainty and to look for certainty in the things of this life. So I want to look at certainty today because I think that it's not bad that we desire certainty. I don't want you to think that that's what I'm saying. Our issue comes in not from the desire for certainty. It comes in what we think certainty is and where we think it comes from. So let's look at why certainty feels so important to us. And starting off, it's quite obvious, I've talked about this before. We have two places where this desire for certainty comes from. And we've gotten so attached with the first one that we've created the sort of chaotic soup of anger and frustration and suffering and violence in the world around us. And that's our biological drive for it. So we have to remember that biologically, we have a brain. And to that brain, certainty equals life. And to the brain, life is the only goal. It's job is to keep the body that you are inhabiting alive. And anything that increases the chances of that, the brain has an affinity to. Certainty to the brain is this illusion of predictability. And you have to admire the brain for creating this, for this human experience of life here. The brain was so magnificently designed to seek ways in which it felt like it could keep our organism, the body that we inhabit, safe, healthy, and alive. This illusion of certainty is the brain's way of sort of allowing its own tactics to not kill itself. I want you to think about it. Certainty does not actually exist in the world that the brain processes information in. It is a feeling we wish to have. But the definition of certainty, it doesn't actually exist in this life. We don't have control over everything on this planet. Other beings and people have free will. We cannot predict with 100% certainty what all nature is capable of. I personally don't believe we ever will, or that we're supposed to. So think about the brain's biologically programmed tactics here, to use fear and uncertainty to drive us to not act and not do anything new so that we don't run any risk of death. If we follow this 100% of the time, guess what? We die. So the brain magnificently created a program, a way for us to actually allow its own tactics of wanting certainty to not kill itself. Because we would starve. We would not learn how to build protection from natural occurrences. We wouldn't learn how to understand and therefore treat and cure diseases. We wouldn't mate, because that would involve uncertainty of other person's free will, as well as whether our body will handle the process and if, we'll be able to find enough food to make it through the process of reproduction and childbirth. So yeah, the brain created its own way of creating an illusion of security, of knowing and predicting, so that we would do enough to keep ourselves alive, but still have other backup tactics of retreating back to this illusion of certainty and its comfort at the first sign of something possibly being dangerous or new. And here's the thing. When we were alive several thousand years ago, this tactic of the brain, as I've said before, it served us really well to survive as a species and to get to where we are now with our modern developments. And a lot of these modern developments have accounted for and accommodated for most of the real danger to our lives, thus furthering this illusion of certainty for the brain. And then on top of that, most of us identify with this body, with this brain, with our thinking, so we identify with this certainty too. And my friends, this is our ego. This is attachment to the body, the brain, the things in this life, and the certainty illusion, the false certainty of the world out there. But the truth is, the uncertainty of this life is still there. It always has been. It always will be. There are still natural disasters and diseases that occur without us being able to predict them. Look at the pandemic. People and other creatures still have free will. The universe is still vast, and we haven't explored it all. We don't know what all is out there and what is capable of happening to this planet. But yet, we get up every morning and get in our cars, get in trains or on bikes or walk to our jobs. So many unpredictable things that can happen in that commute that we have no control over. And then we look at our jobs. At our jobs, there could be shootings, there could be bombings, there could be airplanes crashing into our buildings. We've seen this happen. There can be earthquakes, there can be tsunamis, dormant volcanoes suddenly becoming active. There's so much that can happen that we cannot predict. But the truth is, if we just sit at home in fear of that, we don't make money, we can't feed ourselves, and we die. So guess what we do? We accept this uncertainty, but at the same time, we're also in such resistance to our emotional experience of life, the true experience, that sometimes I think we forget that the feeling of certainty that we have is coming because of thoughts that we have of accepting risk, and uncertainty every second of every day. We are doing this all of the time, my friends. We are accepting risk and uncertainty every second of every day. And then for some reason, when we hit certain times of uncertainty, we curl in on ourselves and we cower away and we resist that uncertainty. Without seeing, we've been facing this every day, every second of our lives. We're badasses when it comes to uncertainty, my friends. We are. So yeah, we have this biological drive to seek certainty here. And we mitigate this constantly in the background, whether we realize it or not. We feel certain that we can predict what will happen in life as we go into our daily routines. But here's the thing. This certainty is an illusion of the brain and our thinking, which is both hurting us, but is also so freaking powerful for us to notice once we own and harness that power that we have here. It's hurting us because we make disempowering decisions in our life all of the time based on this illusion of certainty and wanting to feel certain. We have things in life that would be truly important for us to go after. But to do so, we would be learning new things, choosing uncertainty. So we tell ourselves to stay in the familiar uncertainty that we lie and tell ourselves is actually certain, but it isn't. So many of us live these lives that are these stagnant lives, rejecting our true desires in life for the sake of this illusion of certainty that's not even really there, that we've created. And so we don't step into new uncertainty that we could also create certainty in if we chose to step into it and find solutions and find ways forward. But we don't. And we sit in these stagnant lives for the sake of this illusion of certainty that's not even really there. So this is also an opportunity when we look at this for so much empowerment here, because guess what? As I said before, we get up every day and we do things in uncertainty constantly. You are powerful enough to create the feeling of certainty every day as you do thousands of uncertain things in every day and believe that you are certain what will happen when you do those things. You do this all of the time. My friends, this is a powerful tool. But so many of us are not using it. So many of us are not looking at it. So many of us are so emotionally irresponsible and reactive, we don't know how to use our emotions as a tool for us. Which brought me to question why. And I think the answer lies in the next part of certainty that I want to look at. You see, there's another reason why we desire certainty, and it's not just biological. There is the spiritual side of certainty. You see, we aren't just these bodies. We are not our brains. We're not our thinking. If we were, we wouldn't recognize them. We would not be able to observe them. But we're able to do so because we are something else. We, my friends, we are consciousness. We are beings of consciousness inhabiting a body with a brain, creating a story about this life and our journey through it. We are these amazing beings of living through this human experience and creating all of this. But herein lies our problem. When we come into this world, we live in these bodies. We're born in them. We're not given this instruction manual at birth. We just show up and we start experiencing life and we learn as we go. And for so many of us, we are taught and we accept this illusion that we are these bodies, that we are these thoughts that we have, that we are these actions that we take. And therefore our worth is tied to this body, these thoughts, these actions, and the results of those actions. We come into this world and we literally forget who and what we are. And herein lies the other aspect of why we desire certainty. It's our spiritual journey here, my friends. Our spiritual journey lies in remembering what we have forgotten. Remembering that. You might be like, well, what does that have to do with certainty? And I'm really glad you asked that. Because this is it, my friends. our certainty lies in remembering this, in knowing this, and showing up in this world as the fullest expression of this. We show up in this world as untouchable, pure, beautiful, loving, connected, creative, powerful beings of consciousness. And we fall into this illusion of this life and identifying with it. This life that is uncertain and that is not, it is impermanent. Our brain and the ego that come along with it. We forget who we are and the untouchableness of that. We forget our worth and the untouchableness of that. We forget how this body, this brain, these thoughts that we have, that we are inhabiting and trying to figure out this life through, we forget that those aren't us. The actions that we take as we try to express it in this body with human language that's already flawed, and the substance of this earth and life, that's not us. But we begin to identify with it and we forget who we are and we begin to put conditions on our worth based on those things. The longer that we forget who we are and the longer that we identify with these things. And in the process, we fall into this illusion of false certainty. All of the while, the desire for certainty is coming from a powerful and pure place of spiritual healing and reawakening and learning. Of remembering. You see, my friends, our desire for certainty, yeah, sure, we've got the biological drive that the brain wants to keep this body alive. And the longer we identify with this body, we identify with that desire, that desire for that false certainty. And we forget, my friends, our desire from certainty comes from this deeply spiritual space beyond the illusion of the security that the brain and that this body will try and manifest in this life, in this the physical world around it. We forget that our desire for true certainty is actually a desire to remember, a desire to wake up from that attachment and that illusion of this false certainty. And I think that addressing this during this time is so important for so many different reasons. Some of these reasons have to do with the circumstances that humanity is facing right now. And others are reasons that it doesn't matter what circumstances we're facing. Humanity in general, we need to look at them. So why is it important for us to address this within ourselves? Why is it so important for us to move into acceptance of even choosing uncertainty in our lives? We see it as uncertainty as something we have to deal with and react to. But no, what if we actually picked it? And this is what I keep telling you all. When we live an empowered life, we pick uncertainty. We pick the uncertainty that's going to move us closer to being that fullest expression of who we've remembered that we are. We don't fear that stepping into something new and trying something new and stepping out and speaking our truth is going to somehow damage our worth because we remember who we are and that none of this can touch that. So we step forward and we choose that uncertainty of being like, I don't know what the result of this is going to be on the other side, but I want to find out. Because there is something in me asking me to express more of what I know on the inside about who I am in this world, and I know that stepping through this uncertainty is where I'm going to find how I'm going to do that. So why is it important for us to start doing this? Why is it important for us to start choosing uncertainty, looking at this? First of all, because right now we are living in a time where the majority of people alive today, and I would say almost all people alive today, are facing levels of feeling uncertain that they have never experienced before. We have the pandemic, which came along with this economic uncertainty, as well as uncertainty about health and social events and planning. Being able to see our loved ones was uncertain. Travel was uncertain. Job security was uncertain. Whether or not getting vaccinated was safe or not was uncertain. What about these masks that we have to wear? Is the virus really as dangerous as it's being portrayed to be in the media? We had conspiracy theories coming out left and right and all over the place. You had contradicting information coming from scientists and health advisors and politicians. You had the government stepping in these unprecedented levels that people alive today have never seen before, trying to create protocols and safety and procedures to deal with this pandemic. And what this did was created a circumstance where a lot of people slipped into fear and uncertainty and shrunk in around their lives and literally melted down into the uncertainty, trying to crumble under it, trying to hide from it. Especially when from the outside looking in, it appeared as if our own governments, our own scientists, they didn't even know how to handle it. So many people panicked. So many people lashed out in violence and frustration. On top of that, we've had this political unrest worldwide in the USA, in North Korea, in China, and now in Russia and Ukraine. We had issues with North Korea making threats to the US and other neighboring countries talking about nuclear warfare. We had political unrest in the USA with elections and possible election fraud. We had political unrest surrounding Brexit in the EU. We had political unrest with the USA and its foreign diplomacy during Trump's presidency as he stepped in and made some huge changes in how his country approached foreign diplomacy in the world. And this left a lot of countries that were doing business with America kind of scratching their heads and wondering, how do we want to do business moving forward with the US? There was a lot of uncertainty in the world surrounding this. Then we had elections again, and President Trump not wanting to secede his position and forcing an investigation on the election results, which was unprecedented for most people alive today to see a president refusing to secede and literally forcing an investigation on elections for possible election fraud. And I'm not saying he shouldn't have done this, but what this created for a lot of people was this mistrust within the USA to their own government, to their own election procedures. Then we have the pandemic, and then we have the war going on in Ukraine. And this, my friends, is bringing so much uncertainty in so many different ways when it comes to international trade, worldwide resources, worldwide economy, how the superpowers of this world are going to approach doing business with each other from now on, military budgets changing, so many unknown possibilities that could come out of current circumstances in Ukraine at this point, and some of them we haven't even looked at yet. My friends, we live in a time where circumstances are happening where a lot of people are choosing uncertainty that feels at an all-time high. The past 50 years have been almost entirely about growth and peace and creating more unity in the world, more solutions in the world. And it feels as if in the last 5 years, somehow someone just pulled the rug out from under us. I know how you guys feel. I get it. And I think this has so much to do with this false certainty that we've all been trained, programmed, taught, and even chosen to lean on up until these times. And now we are seeing that certainty that we've been leaning on, that we believed that we had, we're seeing now was merely an illusion this entire time. And because of this, many people are slipping into very fear-based, very reactive behaviors. Because so many people have been living a life of emotional resistance and reactivity for so long, and leaning on this illusion of false certainty. So processing this level of uncertain feeling in a responsible and productive way, it's not something that the vast majority of people have been shown how to do. We've been taught to seek, create, and lean on false certainty for our entire lives. And suddenly, being forced to see the truth that we have been hiding and numbing and resisting from ourselves, being forced to see that after so long, it's paying its toll on so many people. So I think right now is one of the most important times for us to be discussing this in a way that is productive and empowered. And this brings me to some reasons why I want to talk about this today. Some other reasons why. Not just because of what's going on in the world right now and in the last 5 years. But there are some reasons that discussing this prior to now would have been helpful, but that's really pointless to look at. So moving forward from here, There are some reasons why, even without these circumstances, it would be so important for us to look at this concept of uncertainty and certainty. One of the biggest reasons is empowerment. When we finally begin to see that certainty that we have been convincing ourselves and eluding ourselves into believing for all this time, that it is actually just an illusion, most people tend to fall into this reaction of sheer panic. But I want to bring some awareness here to something. The human experience is never 100% true. We interpret information all of the time, and we are only interpreting small snippets of all of the information that's available in the time around us, in every circumstance around us, and we live in the illusion of our interpretations all of the time. This is part of being a human. You've been doing it since the moment that you came to this planet. And you might be wondering, well, Seth, why is this important for us to look at? So I want to explain it here. We have been living in massive uncertainty for our entire lives. We have functioned, we have grown, we have pushed forward, we have lived with hope and optimism all of this time. And just now we are beginning to see the illusions that we had placed over our lives to feel certain. And my friends, we constructed that illusion, and therefore that ability to keep moving forward and showing up as that uncertainty existed. My friends, don't you all see the opportunity here? Right now, we are seeing more of the truth. And yeah, it feels like a shock. But we are also seeing that this entire time, we as humans have had the ability to live and grow in uncertainty. We are so afraid right now to look forward with hope and begin creating certainty for ourselves right now because we have put all of our certainty in something that was designed to be uncertain. But here's the thing. We have something to be certain in, which is our worth and who we are. And that nothing in this life can change and touch that. We also see that we as humans make up the feeling of certainty in this life anyways. We do it all of the time. We are powerful and strong enough to be able to live in uncertainty and still step forward with courage and certainty. We have been doing it all along. So what this means, my friends, is we can do it again. We can create hope and certainty to move forward into the uncertain. And guess what? I myself believe we will. And this is one of those times when courage is practiced by us, my friends. Yes, we all feel fear. I feel it too. I choose to step forward with courage and say, we will find solutions. We will move forward and not just survive this, my friends. We are not survivors. We are thrivers. We will thrive through this and because of the time we are living in right now. Not in spite of it. We will thrive because of it. Do I have proof of that? Hell no. But I'm going to step forward and I'm going to be a part of creating it. We didn't have proof of the last 50 years until we did it. We didn't have proof that over the last 50 years that the countries of this world could produce so much growth and peace. We had no proof that that was possible, but guess what? People, badass human beings, conscious beings, step forward in their bodies into that uncertainty. The generations before us, they step forward with courageous action to create the proof that we live in right now that it is possible. And my friends, we're going to do it again. Don't fear the fear. Step forward and choose courage. Choose trust. And believe in the face of a lack of proof that we are powerful beings that create that proof by believing and taking courageous actions forward and leaning on our true certainty. I see humans today stepping forward that are ready to do this again, and I get excited when I see it. And I want to stand up and step forward with them. I put my certainty in who I am and in my belief in humanity and what we are capable of. And my friends, it's empowering. And this, my friends, is why looking at our uncertainty right now is so important. So many people are sitting in uncertainty, frozen in fear and thinking that these are signs to stop, wait, and fear. But what I'm here to offer is that this fear, in this, there is a path forward where you choose that uncertainty with courage and with the true certainty that you actually seek, which is in your worth and who you truly are. And in this path, you step forward empowered by that and empowered by the uncertainty of this life as an opportunity to find new possibility and to go out there and create the proof of it with courageous action. This is why I wanted to talk with you all about this today. The proof that we sit and lean on right now, that we've felt with certainty up until this point, that's been ripped out from underneath us, that proof came from generations before us who said, yeah, I'm scared. Yes, I don't know. Sign me up. And they stepped forward with courageous action. It is what this life is for. It is for choosing this uncertainty and choosing to see that this is our human experience. We are here to experience to its fullest. And courageously, compassionately, openly, and authentically explore that hope, that possibility, and that expansion that we are capable of as humans by choosing to step into that uncertainty of the human experience with the certainty of remembering who we are outside of this human experience. We are the conscious beings here to have this human experience, and that conscious being is untouchable by that human experience. We are here to create within this human experience, to express the true certainty that we have in who we are. We've all been so busy expressing that false certainty that right now, all of us feel so disillusioned, so lost, so afraid. And what I want to offer you all is that there is a path forward. This is a powerful, powerful time. And we are on this planet right now because it is a powerful place of expression here. Expressing our true certainty through the uncertainty of this human experience. We are in a time of so much opportunity to learn new and even more compassionate, courageous, and empowered ways to step forward and express the truth of who we are and what we are here to create and express in this world. We all have something in us that is so important and powerful to create and bring out and express into this world. It's so useful, so helpful, but how many of us are shrinking right now and hiding under the weight of uncertainty that's always been there? How many of us are doing that? I want you to take an honest assessment of this, my friends. And don't get me wrong, I'm not here to blame and judge you all. I get it. I get why so many people choose to shrink and hide. I'm not here to say what you have to do. And I'm not here to say that I don't understand why people are shrinking and hiding. I 1000% get it here, my friends. I'm not here to say otherwise, but what I am here to say is that there is another way through, where you stand up tall in that uncertainty. And it's a way forward that you are designed to live. It is the way forward that is fulfilling and authentic and empowered for you. I want to help each and every person that I can to find that authentic way. And having this conversation today, I'm hoping brings some awakening and awareness to some of you out there who might be right now shrinking under the feeling of uncertainty. And I want you to look and see your power right now. Look and see how magnificent you are. And that body that you're in right now, that you've been attaching to, and the certainty that it holds on to, that's not you, my friends. You can shrink that all you want under the weight of this uncertainty. Who you are is still just as big and just as powerful. And maybe you hear this today and you recognize this in yourself. And you feel this tug to step forward and choose the uncertainty in this life, because of your certainty in who you are, and courageously step forward to create and express who you are here on this planet. The last reason I want to talk about this today is that I want to provoke and stimulate more people to begin to see through our illusions of attachment, to ego, to things, to possessions, that we feel define our value and worth in this life, that we compare with each other with, and that we've been using to define our certainty in this life. I want you all to begin to see how much you might be leaning on this for your feeling of worth and certainty. I want you to begin to see and assess how much suffering this is creating for you in your life by leaning on something that is impermanent and uncertain. It's supposed to be. And how much suffering you're creating by leaning on that to feel worthy and certain and connected in this life. I want you to begin to see the illusion here, my friends, and the damage it is causing you by keeping you stuck in false desire, in chasing ego, in numbing away your experience, in giving away your power, in putting conditions on your worthiness. I want you to begin to see today that there is a completely different path. And on this path, you get to see your worth unconditionally and show up in your life as an unstoppable force of creation, not of comparison, and not of needing to hurry up and get somewhere to be good enough. An unstoppable force of worthy creation and embodiment and expression, where you are creating what you are authentically here to create in this world, and nothing can stop it because you are it. Not creating from the ego and conditional worth or comparison. I want to create awareness around this here today, my friends. I want for more people to begin to wake up to seeing through this illusion that so many of us are comparing and competing and suffering through. I am ready to see more healed, empowered, and emotionally responsible humans on this planet. So here is my message for you all today. This is what I want you all to see. This is what I want to share. Your certainty lies in something so far beyond what you're looking at as the uncertainty that you're afraid of right now. And it is untouchable. Journeying into that, journeying back to where your true power is, my friends, that's the journey that you're here for. I hope you were all able to gain some insight from what I had to share today, some clarity, some empowerment, compassion, and peace. Uncertainty is really so important for us to begin to lean into, to choose, to look at it, to understand. It's not because we're broken, corrupt beings. There's a reason why we desire that certainty, and it's because it's there to show us you're looking in the wrong place for it. It's there. It's been there the entire time. So has the uncertainty that you think you're just now facing. You've been in that uncertainty since the moment you were born. But you've also had that certainty, the true certainty that you seek available to you this entire time. And your desire for it is the emotion that is trying to point you to stop looking out there for it and to look in the one place where it exists, so that you can show up in this life empowered and begin to awaken and remind other humans to do the same, so that we are here to express what we're truly here for. I'm here to help anyone who's ready to find out what this could open up for them in their life if they stepped into this. So just reach out. I'm here for it, okay? That's what I love, helping people with this. But this is all I have for you all today on this topic. I shared a lot of deeply profound stuff here. Some of it might go over your head. Some of it might be a little, listen more than one time if you want to. But this is what I have for you all today. All right? I love you all. I wish you all the most empowered of uncertain times right now. Seize the opportunity in these uncertain times. Don't let the curtain being ripped wide open, don't let that slip by you. Look through the window while it's there, my friends. See it for what it is. See the opportunity in these uncertain times. I wish you all the most empowered of uncertain times right now as you finish out this week and move into next week. I wish you all to choose to step forward and flex that courage. Recognize just how amazing you are by design. Not by decision, by design, and get out there with that true certainty that you seek and fill this uncertain life with the expression of that you were put on this planet to create. So until we meet again here next week, my friends, ciao. Hey, thank you for listening in this week. I hope you enjoyed the content of this episode. If you did, please subscribe or follow this podcast to receive the newest episodes every week as I bring them to you here on the Connect Your Health to Life coaching channel. Ratings, reviews, and comments are always appreciated. These allow me to know more of what my listeners would like in the podcast and allow for more people who may be searching for a podcast just like this one to find the Connect Your Health to Life coaching channel. If you would like more information about me and the work that I do with my clients one-on-one, then please visit my website at www.slch.ch. Again, that is www.slch.ch. You can also find me on social media on Instagram at SethLusk_coaching. Again, that is SethLusk_coaching. And on Facebook in my free Facebook group community called A Healthy Life Connection. We would love to have you in the group, and it's only 3 membership questions that you have to answer to join. And again, it's entirely free. And if you need any further information or just want to say hello, feel free to send me an email directly at slusk.health@slch.ch. Again, that is slusk.health@slch.ch. Thank you again so much for listening, and I look forward to our next time together. Ciao.